6 p.m. Does anyone wish to address the board regarding the waiver of the limitation of administrative costs? Okay. Any board comments? Okay. All right. Well, then I will call for a motion to close the hearing. Or first. Okay. All right. I move that we close the waiver of limitation administrative cost hearing. I first, Lisa second. Please call the vote.
Mr. Andreessen? Yes. Mrs. Briscoe? Yes. Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan? Yes. Mrs. Oates? Yes. Mrs. Tunney? Yes. Mrs. Zielinski?
Yes.
Okay. Done with that. Next, moving on to public communications. We have two. Hopefully I don't see anyone else scrambling for paper. Okay, first is Linda Krause.
Good evening. My name is Linda Krause, and I'm a parent of a current student in the district, and I'm here today to speak once again about School Board Policy 6130, Program for the Gifted, which states the superintendent or designee shall implement an education program for gifted and talented learners that will challenge and motivate academically advanced learners and engage them in appropriately differentiated learning experiences to develop their unique abilities. It references Illinois Code 514A20, which defines gifted and talented children as those scoring in the top 5% locally in the area of aptitude. This policy has been in the board manual for years. However, the school board and administration failed to recognize and implement this policy as it stands, even when parents and community members have voiced the need for this policy to be implemented and for resources to be allocated for this policy. My concern as a resident, parent, and taxpayer who purchased a property in this district in 2020 after being told the district could support my child's academic needs is that the school board, who's supposed to acknowledge what the community is asking for, enforce policies, and follow laws like the Accelerated Placement Act of 2018, has been silent when the community has raised awareness to these policies and laws that have not been implemented and have consistently given the administration too much leeway in mishandling these policies and laws, but the board has failed to recognize their dereliction of duty to the community and its stakeholders. I am just one of many parents and community members who have spent years advocating for our children to have an opportunity to be challenged appropriately. Year after year, our family has been told to wait and see, and this year is no different. This is our 4th year in the district, and the administration has had plenty of time to address the concerns of the parents and community members. Where is the accountability from the school board? Why hasn't the school board directly responded to the letters from parents and community members regarding the program for the gifted and enrichment? We currently offer the opportunity for the best athletes in the district to play volleyball, basketball, cross country, softball, track, and golf. Our athletes have an athletic director to lead the coaches and help the athletes achieve their highest potential. Why do the highest achieving students in the district not have the academic equivalent in leadership as our best athletes do? Our children deserve better. Our community deserves to be heard, and the school board needs to fulfill their role in listening to the stakeholders who elected them for this position. Thank you.
Linda, next up is Angela.
Good evening. Last month, we communicated to the board and administration a request to expand offerings for advanced learners, including implementing Policy 6130 by offering a program for gifted students and to expand academic enrichment. We haven't heard any response from the school board in this issue, and this leaves concerns and questions. Is it an issue for you that we have a school policy that's not being funded nor implemented? Is it an issue that the needs of many advanced learners in our district are not being met? Is it an issue to you that Mokena's advanced learning offerings are not competitive with area districts? Please know that your silence is also an answer. I hope that you are having discussions amongst yourselves on how we can, as soon as possible, begin serving advanced learners in District 159. Consider District Goal 1C, that the district shall identify opportunities for enrichment and support these opportunities with resources. The district's actual action was to increase enrollment in the existing junior high math enrichment program. While this is certainly beneficial and necessary, it doesn't equate with offering more enriched coursework. We ask that the district answer this goal by developing a comprehensive enrichment program for math and ELA for grades 3 through 8. Regarding the gifted policy 6130, any school policy is written for a reason and should not be ignored or postponed indefinitely, but let's also consider the benefits for the students and the district. Implementing a gifted program will actually solve some of the district's current challenges. Right now, the only option for advanced learning is the advanced placement program. Students who have been grade level or subject accelerated in the last year have experienced the social challenges of being with older classmates. Many parents would have actually preferred their child to be in a gifted program that could meet their needs for accelerated education while also better fitting their social and emotional needs. And then there's also the logistical challenges. Students who are subject level accelerated must be escorted between MES and MIS, and in a couple of years will need to be bused to the junior high during the school day. Again, increasing resources needed and using part of a student's school day for transportation rather than learning. By implementing policy 6130, the district could best serve each advanced learner's needs by providing the gifted program, advanced placement, or both. We understand that the administration is occupied with the new ELA curriculum and requests that the district hire a professional gifted endorsement consultant to research and design a program for our district, making it possible to offer a gifted program and expand enrichment by the next school year. We have sent the resume of a very qualified gifted endorsed consultant who could guide our district. Please consider that each year that passes without these programs is a missed opportunity that will not be regained. We have the responsibility to make every reasonable effort to serve these students sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Angela? Okay, next up is the MTA.
Good evening. We have seventh grade with us tonight to showcase what they're doing. We also have our interventionists. So Rick West will come up first and share what they're doing.
Good evening. MGH Reading Intervention at the junior high just completed the first curriculum pilot of the rewards program. Students made great progress in reviewing and applying multisyllabic word skills in a variety of ways. We piloted the program for 5 weeks and made it through about half of the lessons. Next up is a second program to pilot Read 180, which we just started on Monday the 16th. Our hope is to select an updated program by the end of December in order to continue on in the second semester. MGH Math Interventions at the junior high has continued to work on the foundational standards of Eureka Math Squared using both the Khan Academy and ALEX programs. Grades 6 and 8 have completed Module 1 and are currently on Module 2. Grade 7 is currently finishing up Module 1. The students are progressing well in ALEX towards their individual goals. 7th grade math classes at the junior high have added an extra section of honors math this year. All classes are once again utilizing the curriculum of Eureka Math Squared. We have completed Module 1 on unit rate and scale factor, are well into the second of the 6 modules for the year. We hope the second year of this curriculum shows the same growth on state testing the students enjoyed last year. 7th grade history just completed studying the American Revolution. The unit culminated with a project. The students could choose either to make a video, create a digital comic strip, or use coding to create a presentation about an event from the war. We're now beginning the Constitution unit, and we're also working on writing arguments using multiple sources. 7th grade science is deep into studying cells. We've done several labs and been working on how to create a scientific illustration. We've also done live specimen labs and taught the students how to create their own wet mount slides. Students have continued to focus on reading and annotating informational text, as well as responding to questions using the CER format. Seventh grade ELA has completed its first quarter focus on the review of many skills utilizing short stories as mentor texts. The students enjoyed reading all different types of genres and getting to know different characters. As they worked through the anthology, students practiced outlining plot maps, character analysis, point of view, and CER writing. As the quarter comes to an end, the ELA department is excited to begin piloting 2 curriculums, beginning with Amplify ELA. During the second quarter, 7th grade students will work through a unit focused on brain science. This unit was specifically chosen with a cross-curricular mindset, as science will be approaching this topic later in the year. We are grateful for this opportunity to explore new curriculums that are aligned to the Common Core standards that allow many differentiation options to meet all learning needs. 7th graders also went on their first field trip to Camp Manitoba last month to work on team building initiatives. The students participated in about 5 initiative activities per group. The goal for each initiative was building communication skills to help students work as a team to complete each activity. Students worked really well together and enjoyed the trip. This September, the 7th grade team chose our first set of monthly Olympian medalists. Each month, our team honors 4 students who exemplify scholarship and citizenship. Thank you.
Next, we have Tracy Driver and Amanda Drager.
Good evening. Well, the intervention team here at MES, myself, Amanda Drager, and Mary Essery, have been very busy since the start of the school year. We immediately started the year off seeing groups of students identified as needing some support, extra support in the areas of math and reading, using the FastBridge benchmarking data from last spring. The team then assisted with this year's fall reading and math benchmarking of both the kindergarten and first grade students. We also participated in the fall grade level data analysis meetings, what we finally call GLDA here at MES, with each grade level, and have since restructured our groups using this new data. And our intervention team has just started with these groups of students, and we're looking forward to watching them grow. Thank you.
CSA, I think so, yeah. PTA.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Just a quick update. We have 145 members, had our second meeting on October 11th. We were able to fill the secretary position with a mom of 3 in the district, Jillian Love. She's also a teacher and is also an alumni of District 159, so we're excited to have her. The grants were submitted through the National PTA. We're waiting a response on that. Treasurer report was approved during that meeting. Some upcoming events, the fall swing. Thank you so much for sharing everything to the principals and Dr. Cohen. Again, the ticket price for faculty and staff is $35. The ticket price for the general admission is $50. The PTA members have been great in stepping up, helping with the fall swing, and thank you, Kelly, too, for your efforts. Pumpkin decorating contest is tomorrow. We're really excited about that. Halloween dance at MJHS is on 10/27. We have 7 parent volunteers. We're having the ornament decorating for the PTA sponsored tree in downtown Mokena on November 16th here at MES. Secret Santa workshop, December 4th. And that's it. Thank you so much.
You okay, Board of Education?
I like sharing nice happy things. And tonight I had an opportunity to. For starters, thanks for everybody for pushing back their night a little bit. We were over at Central because 3 of the students and board members were inducted into the National Honor Society, which is great because it's a vote of confidence of how well our teachers, staff, and admins are working hard to help these children. But the fun part was how many other kids I saw on that stage and how many names I recognized, whether it was from previous teams or classes or other things. And it's not just for kids that are only into books. They might be really into music and athletics and other things. We have a lot of good people that dedicate their lives to helping these children achieve what they're able to do, and that doesn't go unnoticed. So thank you for being part of their success.
Yep, I'm just gonna take a facing. There's an honor to be my son and Eric's daughter and Jim's son up there on the stage. And then, like Jim said, all these other kids from Mokena that I just haven't seen in so long that were on that stage. And it was such a great thing to see. I did cry, my husband. But our teachers here have done a phenomenal job over the years, and I know I say it all the time, but our teachers have done such a great job over the years, and thank you so much. I appreciate everything you guys do, and our staff does run our day-to-day operations to help our teachers. So thank you, everyone.
I also wanted to just congratulate all of the students and the teachers for National Honor Society and all the efforts. I also wanted to thank the parents for coming and for speaking. I know that you put a tremendous amount of work into these issues, and I truly appreciate that work and effort and your passion for that. And I appreciate you coming here with that. And I want to thank the MTA for bringing the teachers here to share the successes. I appreciate hearing that. So thank you.
So I'm going to echo everything you guys just said. Congratulations to your children in the induction. That's a really big deal. And thank you to the parents, and thank you to the teachers, of course. And your insight into your everyday is very valuable and appreciated, and coming here this evening and taking time out of your schedule. Eric, you have to forgive me. I don't know what the right way to accomplish this is, so I just wanted to capitalize on this kind of open discussion opportunity. On the press policy updates that we have that we're voting on today, can we just have a brief discussion on how, Dr. Cohen, you suggest that we get to where we need to get to based on what was in board book and approved by the board at the last meeting, and then how we're going to address the revisions that are going to happen.
There are just two amendments that need to be made. We just have to pull these two little pieces out. Board policy 4100, item number 2, only for high schools. It's not in our policy now. We just wouldn't add it. And then board policy 7275 was optional. Spoke with our attorney. He says, he said really we don't need to adopt that, so I would recommend we pull that. So we'll just be adopting the policies, minus those two changes.
So I had 4 changes. You said 4100. I'm sorry. You said, I don't know what.
4100, which was item number 2 inside of that, pertains to high schoolers and insurance for participation in IHSA athletics.
And then you said 275.
Correct.
Okay, so the other 2 that I had were 6190 and 7330 that were changes that needed to be made between what is on board book and what, will be produced, basically.
So 7330 we currently have in our policy manual. In 7330 for high schools or unit districts. But in talking with Mike, it has to do essentially gives the students the right to gather at school as long as they're supervised, not necessarily that they're paying somebody to find promotional activity, but that they can gather under supervision, something like that. So the board has had that in the past. I would recommend dropping that policy. And then 6190 has that footnote reference to 7330. And the only change press is doing is to update footnotes, and I would recommend we just adopt the footnotes and leave it as it stands.
So okay, I thought there was another clause in 6190, but I trust that you know, that's fine. Okay, so it's just really two changes. And how do we, is this conversation right now establishing that this will be what the board is voting on?
Mm-hmm. Kathy has in the minutes, and she also.
Okay.
So.
Oh, it's safety. Modifications. Okay, and that's the modifications. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you, sorry.
Oh, no problem. The press policies are PDF documents that unfortunately we can't change, but we just, the high school stuff we usually eliminate. This is one of those rare cases where a high school policy, we actually do have in our policy handbook, believe it or not.
Okay, I would just like to thank everyone in attendance as well. Thank you very much for gracious allowing us to attend our children's ceremony. It only happens once, so and thanks, especially with the little one. I know it's getting late, so appreciate you guys accommodating us on that. Okay, next up is a discussion item. We're going to go to board committees. Who wants to go first?
I don't mind. I had asked at the last board meeting to have the board consider adding 2 committees. I sent a one-page, I really tried to limit it to one-page outline of what the committee is, who I suggest the participants be, the meeting schedule, and what's the goal or the work product. The first one, first let me step back, and I have below that things that I didn't mean to sound, put in things that you know, but it's just to have it on one page. These I was citing to section 2-150 of our policies, and it states that we have these 4 standing committees, which are the Board Policy Committee, the Parent Teacher Advisory Committee, Behavioral Interventions, and Finance. So we currently have a standing Finance Committee, and we have a Parent Advisory Committee, not a Parent Teacher Advisory Committee. And I noted that I'm guessing that it's a Parent Advisory Committee based on Dr. Cohen's statement that the teachers aren't interested in participating. But he also said it was that is what takes place for our Parent Teacher Advisory Committee. So I have that in there because we, in my opinion, and standing committee should adhere to OMA. The recommendations, they can make recommendations, but they can't take any action. They report to the board and can include board members and non-board members, just like the Finance Committee. But the Parent Teacher or Parent Advisory Committee does not run the same way. It is very limited to board participation to 2 people. So we either ask that it be run differently, or we just do a Parent Teacher Advisory Committee since it's a standing committee. And then I make suggestions on who should be participating, at least one parent and one teacher from each of the schools, and from the SELF program and from special services. And it should be open to the public quarterly or as needed if there's a special project. And then just review topics as necessary. I mean, there's always improvement that we can do. And we're, part of our goal as a board member is to reach out to the community. And if that's one way that we can do it, I fully support that in having folks participate. The other one is the board policy committee. Again, that's a standing committee. I suggest that it be consist of the board members and then the parent-teacher advisory as needed. If there's some policy that we need to address that needs the community or parent input. The reason for this, I've stated it in the past, is, well, one, it's a standing committee that our policies say we have. And two, I think we just need to work through all of our policies to see where there could be gaps. And then we can work to close those gaps. So the first review and work product of outlining what changes are needed and recommendations, it would be a monthly type of a meeting. But after that, I'm hoping that it's only quarterly or even just twice yearly in the fall and the spring. So I'm not trying to put a ton of work on people's plates, but there are some policies that need to be revised, and plus we get press revisions as well. So these are the basic, that's the outline of the rationale. Again, when our policies state that we have these, I think it's our duty to actually implement them. And I'm not wedded to exactly how I have it outlined. I really would just like to discuss it and implement them. And I'm ready to get to work on them. Thank you.
Okay, so before Julie started, I probably should have explained a couple things, sorry. So how I think this is going to work is that we're going to follow kind of board protocol as we get information 1 month, discuss it, kind of, sometimes it's called first read, and then you do a final read, and then you do an action. So tonight would be discussion on these committees with the vote on them for the November meeting on that front. And then I do thank Julie and Kelly for putting something together based on my recommendation last month. There was no set format, so you can see they're slightly different, but that's fine. They were just meant to be discussion points. So they did provide us some documentation, so that's good for discussion. So with that, I will stop, and then we can discuss any questions that you guys have on either of these 2 items. We can maybe address them now, since Julie did both of them, and then we can move on to Kelly's after we discuss Julie's. Does anyone have any questions for these 2 committees?
I'm gonna tell you I support both. And I think the biggest reason you've touched upon a couple times is that we are already, saying that we're doing this, right? So the board has, I'm not even clear why the board would need to vote on having these committees because our policy already says that they exist. So I think there's work to be done on the policies overall, and that's a perfect place to do it. And it hopefully would alleviate, some burden on our administration in doing that. And then, of course, the parent-teacher advisory, I think everybody can see the value that would come out of having teachers and parents and board members in the same room routinely having conversations. I think that's just a great thing. So that's what I have to say about that.
Any other questions? Okay, I guess hearing no other questions, then Kelly, do you want to go with yours?
Yeah, so mine's a little lengthier, and I'll try to run through it really quickly. So I guess we'll start off, I don't know which one. I'll start off with the special board committee on safety. And so special meaning that this would be like a more of a short-term thing that we set up and with specific goals. I'm not saying that these need to be those specific goals. I just tried to offer my get off a blank sheet of paper suggestions. So the incident at MES on August 25th shed some light on some opportunities we have to improve how we're executing our comprehensive safety plan. The board policy dictates an extensive list of requirements that we need to satisfy to be fully compliant. And so I would see that the purpose of this committee is to basically just try to create a forum where people could come together in one room to do that full review, understand the objectives, and evaluate what we have and what changes need to be made. And again, this is understanding that this is the safety and security of our students and our staff and our buildings. And so like, I think it's a worthwhile investment of time and energy from our board, and it will demonstrate a commitment to our stakeholders, parents, community, in how we view, the safety and security of our building. So you can see here that I suggest, again, this is just me suggesting, this is for discussion, but we start off with the people that are identified in the security team. And of course, we have representatives from each building and potentially, first responders at Mokena, our attorney, in consultation when we need to, consult with those people. And then on the right side is kind of what I would see as the goals of that special committee. And this, again, I just kind of threw out that it would be like almost every other month, or however I tried to strategically not plan a meeting at the, last month of the year. Or so, but in preparation, ideally this would be in preparation for an entire new package of processes and procedures and administrative procedures for the next school year and beyond. So there's that. Do we want to stop and ask questions now, Eric, or do you want me to move on to the enrichment? Sure. Okay. So the enrichment. So this is in response to our families. And I'm just going to read what I have here because I thought about it, and so I'm not going to try to start over. So our district's focus should first and foremost be on education of our students, ELA and math being a top priority. And this follows me just saying that safety is a top priority. So you can see all of them have to be kind of our top priority. Last year, the board voted to approve $10,000 for a golf program and $12,000 annually for a strings program. These are both extra curricular programs. So personally, I see no reason the board shouldn't be allocating funds to support students in our core subject areas of ELA and math. As we continue to improve our test scores with the new curriculum and the new things you guys are doing in the classroom, I think potentially the percentage of the students that are exceeding those benchmarks are going to grow. And so we're just going to, grow that number of kids that need more challenge. again, we have, I want to recognize we have a large group of parents that are voicing their desire for us to provide changes to the learning environment of their children. They say that's not happening now. I think that it's obvious they've done a tremendous amount of work in researching short-term and long-term goals. They've gone so far as to present us with a consultant that's available for a reasonable cost that we could utilize to help us develop a plan or explore opportunity. So I think we owe it to our students and our community to invest that time. This is a consistent message I personally have heard for the past 3 years, and I know it was identified by a large number of people during our strategic planning process in 2021. So it's clear that this is what the community wants. I'm going to try to close in on this. Okay, so you can read the rest. So I guess the end goal would be is, I'm not saying that we need to do it. What I'm saying is we need to invest time to research it and explore it and prioritize it and respond to our community. And that's where I think the board, I would like to be the board that responds to what the community is telling us they want. We've not so long ago, we're in sessions where we discussed what the conclusion was if people aren't here telling us what they want. And maybe that's okay, but now they are here telling us what they want. So I want to be responsive and recognize that. And I think we can, and I think we should. And I think that we need to be competitive to our neighboring districts too, for the good of our community. And people can move out of this district and move next door and get what they are desiring to have. So thank you.
Okay. Any questions for Kelly on either the safety or the enrichment committee?
I'll go on record right now. I absolutely believe in the safety and security of our students, which is why I do not support having a committee where these discussions are held in any kind of public forum, whether it's recorded or not, or anybody else can hear things that are not pertaining to the details at the time. We have law enforcement, fire departments, our admins, our principals, our teachers work on the safety and security of our students. I'm not going to armchair quarterback that or look at Monday morning thinking, boy, we really wish we would have done something different on Sunday when it comes to safety and security. No, some discussions do not belong in public. As far as enrichment is concerned, we have professionals that are working on that are working on improving the math program, working on helping out ELA. We all want things to go better. That's important. But we have to remember having people at the table to figure things out. Who's at the table? Are they qualified? Do they have the license back up? I don't pretend to do their jobs. I'm not going to tell Mark how to do his when it comes to crafting an education plan. That being said, if we want to review policy committee ideas, that's fine. If we want input with parents and teachers and so on, that's fine. Safety and security, as far as I'm concerned, is a non-starter. And the other things are quite honestly already being worked on. And we've already been briefed on that extensively. Thank you.
Any other questions? Julie.
Kelly, for your safety and security proposal, are you suggesting it's a special committee? There's, I think in the write-up you have special, but in the chart you have standing. So I was curious if it's a project to review the procedures and policies, and then they're done? Yeah, okay. No, that's fine. It was just if it was an ongoing. I support what you're trying to do with this committee. I share the concern, the same concern that Jim has about discussing safety in a public setting. I think that is misplaced in this. Aside from that, though, we have all acknowledged previously to, I don't know if we're in agreement, but there has been some discussion about the need to look at our policy based off of what happened in the lockdown drill. So I don't think that there shouldn't be one, especially since our policy also says that the board members are allowed to attend the safety discussions and meetings. I think it would, if folks are interested at this table to be a part of that and learn, I don't find harm with that. So to that extent, I support it, but I do not support the public being a part of that. Thank you.
Just for clarification, and I hear you. I did put that it would be, the exemption to OMA for security would apply when things that are confidential should not be subject to OMA. And this is, again, as it relates to board policy. So, I mean, someone may need to correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there's anything that's confidential. I mean, it's public knowledge what our board policy for 170 dictates.
Sounds like something that could be handled under a board policy committee.
Right. It would just be us identifying this as a priority area that wouldn't, we wouldn't wait until it made its way through the board policy committee. Exactly.
Okay. Any other questions for that? I have a question, and I think I'm going backwards, so I apologize. On the board policy committee, it says here that it would be 2 board members, and that's it, except for potentially parent community input. So,
No, I think all the board. Sorry, Eric, if it's unclear, it says board members, 2 of which could serve as if, yeah.
So I guess my question there would be,
If we need that, again, I was trying to mimic the finance committee. But again, I'm not wedded to that. If it's board members addressing the policy, then we probably don't need that, right?
so I guess my question goes to, had a little bit of discussion with Dr. Cohen on this, because it sounds like he had a board policy committee at Elmhurst, where he came from, and it was 2 board members, and it was a couple administrators, and help me out, sorry.
Well, it evolved. It was 2 board members would come in and review the press policy updates. And then if there were any questions about particular policies, we bring in the relevant administrator. So if it was something having to do with financial operations in section 4, we bring in the business official, et cetera. They've since changed and now have, 3 members and do an OMA for all of those things. And some districts just do a committee of the whole. And that has been what Mokena has done in the past, which has been a committee of the whole. Now, board section 4 regarding all of our financial policies, those were reviewed in chunks in the finance committee. I want to say it was the end of my first, beginning of my second year, so that had been in 2021. So that review was, the financial policies were reviewed by the finance committee. There's nothing to say, you can do it any way you want. We could identify, in, let's say, section 2 is, school board operations. It's a smaller group of policies. We could identify 1 month as being a committee of the whole, just talks about section 2. And maybe when you get to section 5, or I'm sorry, section 6, which is about instruction, 7, which is about students, because those are more, you break those up into smaller pieces. And again, like 10 at a time. And you can knock them out as a committee of the whole. We could put it as an agenda item on a board meeting and not have to do it another night. It's all up to you how you want to handle that. The smaller, regardless of the small committees always have to report back to the larger board. So you're going to have the discussion twice. So you can choose to do the 2-person committee, with the administrative team. You could do a bigger committee, though, what we do with the finance committee, or what we did, which was, have a separate group that would be an open meeting. And then unfortunately you do have to rehash it then when you come to the board meeting, for any changes, or you can do a committee of the whole. It really is up to the board.
I appreciate your thoughts on that. I've only attended a couple finance committee meetings, and I don't recall there being a rehashing of the entire finance committee meeting at a board meeting. So I think that at least the heavy lift of the review can be done in a committee akin to what the finance committee does, and see how it goes, and then we can reassess. But it is, and Jim even had even said that we could address safety within the board policy committee. So I think it's a good idea. I think there's plenty to do that wouldn't keep people here till midnight talking about specific policies, and the public could come and also give their input as well.
One suggestion, or one possibility would be if we were to scrap the Safety and Security Special Committee and just commit to having safety, policy 4170 be the first one that's addressed in the board policy committee. And I want to just touch upon the committee as a whole. I really like that idea. It wasn't a point of focus because it's not in our manual currently, but I think that would open up the door to just, whatever we need to discuss, which is what I think sometimes we're missing. So I like that idea as well.
Well, I certainly like the idea of going on the offense and not waiting for press policies to do the board policy, but I don't agree with only having board members on this committee. I think that, the 7 of us, as much as we want to do what's best, have never been in a classroom, never been a teacher. Everybody is sitting at this table, administrators, except for, Lincoln, have been teachers. No offense, have been teachers. We have,
it was an oversight, Eric.
In the audience.
I'm not wedded to it.
I think that we need to, because I think we can sometimes say what we think is right, but never being in that position to have to implement it is kind of tough for us, because they could come back and be like, well, how are you going to do this? And be like, oh, never thought about that. Never been in the classroom. So I think that, having a couple board members is fine, but we need to figure out how to get some other input as well. Maybe MTA leadership and maybe a couple administrators, just to help us kind of understand, because sometimes, tomato, you think you're doing the right thing, and then next thing you know, we just never been in the classroom. So, I'm married to a teacher. My sister-in-law is a teacher. My sister's a teacher. My mother's a teacher, and I still would be lost in the classroom. So, that would be my thought on that. I could definitely get behind this. I just think we need to add some administrators and maybe talk to the MTA leadership and see how we can get some staff as well, especially if anything we're doing is instruction on that. So those are my 2 cents.
So I would like to quickly respond. The administrators, I apologize, that was an oversight, but the teachers were certainly not an oversight, because I say that the parent-teacher advisory committee would be included. I think I just want to make clear that they were very much part of this. It was an oversight to not have a member of the administration, so I apologize for that.
No need to apologize. That's why we're discussing. Okay, any other questions?
Eric, I just have one more comment. If we could put, Miss Kathy, if we could put the documents that the board just looked at into your board highlights for the public to see what we were reading from and the details, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay,
I'm sorry, just, you mean board book, or, because the board highlights is like a 3-page document Kathy puts together. Do you want to put on board book so they're on the website? Yeah, because the board highlights don't live on the website. The board book does. She emails the highlights out, but I don't think they. Yeah, I just want to make sure we can find it.
okay. Anything else on board committees? Okay, good discussion. Public communication. Julie, that was you? No? Didn't you request that music boosters and athletic boosters be added to the agenda? I thought you added that. No?
I had asked for consideration at the meeting, but I didn't ask for it to be added back on, so I thought it was a nice gesture to invite them. We don't need to have further discussion. Doesn't support that.
What's on the agenda? Does anyone want to discuss it? Any questions?
Figure out what the deal is right now. Are we going to make a decision on whether we add these two to the agenda?
Well, I believe it was like they were asked, they wanted to take up.
Oh, they don't want to. Right. Oh,
But if they had something to share, they could just come during the mobile public comments and share a way to, for students to attend.
They could.
You didn't do anything wrong, you're fine. I'm just saying you've got to put it on the agenda, they can still come and do their nice one.
Okay, anything else on public communication? No. All right, Dr. Cohen.
I have a couple of items that are a first look this month. I did get a couple questions which I tried to respond to. The first about social media litigation. I looked at it as an opportunity for the district to recoup some of the cost of services we've had to provide. I don't want to pick on Mike at the junior high, but the junior high probably sees the most impact from youth's use of social media and the havoc that it causes, not only for kids and their own mental health, but also the bullying and the cyberbullying that occurs. So I think this is an opportunity for us to be able to recoup some of that expense. And then also the information was added this week. You probably haven't had a chance to look at it. But we do have about 10 to 12 students, probably district-wide, families who we have reason to suspect may not be residents. Paperwork is legit, but, we find you get reports that they're being dropped off at a bus stop, or, the child doesn't come on half days because of, distance concerns. And family situations are definitely fluid. It's not to say that, sometimes if there's a split at home, maybe the children and one of the parents has to go somewhere else. But we do want to make sure we're protecting our community's investment in our schools and making sure that we're not, not enrolling students that don't live in the district. And then I will add to the first day of the Illinois Association of Gifted Children Conference was enlightening. I did not attend one session on the cluster group. I attended two. So the first session was actually done by two professors from Arizona State University and did an outstanding job. I definitely think there's some potential there. There are opportunities there. We do have to discuss, and Dr. Johnson and I talked about this last week, based on where we are now, what does enrichment look like? And it goes back to some of the same questions, and without having a discussion right now, as we're closing on the 9 o'clock hour, enrichment and acceleration are two different things. Which way do we want to go? Math often, there's this sort of tendency for programs that are designed for higher achieving students to be accelerated. But I caution against that, and our own high school district pushes back on the feeder districts when it comes to math acceleration. They'd rather we go deeper into, like, for example, heart of algebra skills rather than race through them, because, it's been their experience, and I can say this even when I was in Elmhurst at York High School, we'd have students that would be high achievers and do well early on, but then struggle with those pre-calculus and calculus concepts as they get older because they wouldn't have the solid algebraic foundations when they were younger. So that'll be a topic of study. But there's a lot of good information there today. Had the opportunity to sit in with the lead author of the COGAT aptitude exam and a session that she provided. And she did a lot of work in talking about best practices for the identification of students. The FastBridge assessment tool is step one, but it is definitely not designed to measure ability. And the distinction between achievement and ability was something that was discussed extensively. When kids are worked with at home, they come to school ready to learn. But we have kiddos that may come from different backgrounds who may not have had that advantage, but have a lot of opportunity for growth. And so having the right assessment tools to be able to triangulate those students that have that potential is important. So more to come, but you are heard. So that concludes my report.
Okay.
So Dr. Cohen, tell me what the timeline is or what your recommendation is on this litigation against social media companies.
Litigation, I believe, is going to begin early in 2024. So this is just a first look. We have the opportunity. November is definitely not too late. December may not be too late to sign on. Frantic is just one of many law firms that is joining together in this class action lawsuit against Meta, TikTok, Instagram, etc. There was a similar class action lawsuit brought against Juul and other manufacturers of vaping products. I think the suit was brought about 6 years ago, and about a year or two ago, some districts saw 5-6 figures in terms of a settlement because districts have had to go out and buy detectors and and implement prevention programs, et cetera, as a result. So this is still early on, but it's an opportunity again for us to jump into the mix.
Okay, so we're not going to be we're not going to vote to adopt this resolution next month.
Well, we can do it as early as next month, yes.
Okay.
But I would have to talk to John, see what the deadline is. I just want to make sure November was okay. I didn't ask about how late it could be, but I know that the end of the year could probably be the drop dead.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Johnson.
Good evening. Just a quick summary of my report this evening. I did provide a summary of our October professional learning, which included a summary of the Full Day Teacher Institute that took place a few weeks ago. I did also put a big thank you in here to 7 of our teachers who have partnered with Lincoln Way to host seniors in their internship program. So we look forward to hosting them in our classrooms this school year. I provided 2 items for you that summarized for our English language learner students, one that summarized our spring access assessment data, as well as program enrollment data, including how many students are currently enrolled in our English language learner services, a historical look at those numbers as well, and a summary of the various languages that are also spoken either by our students or in the home as well that are in our program. I did also provide for you a summary of our most recent fall FastBridge assessment data, as well as a historical look at the fall data over time. I provided for you an update regarding the MTSS committee work that is restarted again this school year, and also provided an update for you regarding our next steps with our 6th through 8th grade ELA program review and piloting. And the last piece I have for you is just a reminder that we do have an action item this evening specific to a few more additions to the classroom libraries and the district novel list.
Okay, we move on to Ms. Cirone.
So I would like just to take a moment to introduce the Board of Education to the new Interim Director of Student Services, Mrs. Jennifer Volpe. She and I have spent the past few weeks getting to know each other, acclimating her with the systems that we have here in the district, and just talking about me passing the baton to her. So very warm welcome to Mrs. Volpe. I did highlight one of our special education classrooms doing amazing work, giving our students access to the general education curriculum. That's something that we have worked on very hard in the past 5 years, is making sure that our students have access to that rigorous instruction, to those state learning standards, and that they're having the same opportunities that their general education peers have. So kudos to Mrs. Bellatier for really, pushing that rigor in her classroom and providing access to those students. And then, as always, I will beat the drum, as I think I do at every board meeting. We are still in need of paraprofessionals. So if you know anyone in the community who's looking for highly impactful, meaningful work, please send them our way. We will happily accept their applications.
Cirone?
Not a question, but thank you and welcome.
Thank you and welcome.
When's your last day, Allison?
November 15th. Yes. But my heart will always be here in Mokena. And I truly have loved my work down here and my time down here. It's been,
working with you.
thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you. I don't have much to add to my report, but I did set in front of you a new snack in the cafeteria. They're veggie crackers. The nutrition requirements are also at your seat, so you can see what the nutrition requirements of those crackers are. They make up a grain requirement for the lunch program, as that lunch program has very specific requirements that have to be met. Last month you got to drink your vegetable. This month you get to snack on the vegetable, or actually grain. The candy has nothing to do with National School, just for the record. It did not come from me. Next month at the Finance Committee, we'll be looking at the levy. I'm available. I've shared some time that I'm available. If anyone would like to see that before the Finance Committee, that's a possibility. And then we'll look at the summer projects. This will be the first year that we've had a debrief of the summer projects at the Finance Committee. So we set that date in November to make sure that we had enough time for the architects and engineers to make sure that we were done with those projects, to be able to put together a comprehensive summary of what happened in the summer. So that's at the November 13th Finance Committee. We have a lot of action items tonight, a few action items from me. Most of them are on the consent agenda. And then the administrative cost waiver, shared service report are individual items. And next month we'll have a presentation, the tentative levy hearing, and then you'll see some information items for RFP as we move forward with the playground, MIS place, park place, and MES parking lot projects. So you'll see some of those next month from me. That's all I have. Thank you.
Just a quick clarification. I'm sorry I didn't notice this sooner. It's November 13, right, for the presentation to? Okay.
13th, the Finance Committee date, Monday.
Right. Okay.
It's typically the second Monday.
Right. The summary said the 11th, so So I'm sorry I didn't catch it sooner. I wanted to double check. Thank you.
Finance Committee, the 13th, board meeting, the 15th.
It is one of those where it's an earlier kind of board meeting, third Wednesday and the second Monday are in the same week.
The playground update. Are we still doing a ribbon ceremony or no?
We will do a ribbon cutting. We are about a week and a half behind. So the last, well, yeah, I feel like we've gotten nothing but rain for the end of September and a good chunk of October. Those poor guys are out there working, putting pieces together and putting things in the ground, and it is a mud pit out there. We need some good weather in order to get the stone compacted, and then we definitely need some warm weather in order to get the rubber surface down. They're looking hopefully by, they're saying October 31st, substantial completion of all the equipment installation, and they should be ready for the poured rubber surface. Then we just need to wait for 2 nights where we're going to have temperatures of above 40 degrees where you don't have frost. So we're going to be squeezing it in before winter. It's going to be one of those, it's going to be really, really tight. So it may be a ribbon cutting with about 4 days notice. But I'll tell you what, I can't wait. Regardless of when it is, I can't wait to see those kids jumping all on 12,000 square feet of poured rubber play surface. It's going to be awesome.
Okay, next up is Mr. Henson.
Evening. I only have 2 items on my board report. I'll just do a quick recap. The Know Before fishing campaign. We are a month and a half into school, and we are currently at what it took the entire year last year to get to. So that's awesome. It's working. And then I just added a little bit about our Lenovo Chromebook warranty and where we are at with that. So that pretty much concludes my report. Is there any questions?
Okay, moving then on to principals. Okay, 50-50 here. We'll go with Mr. McAtee. Oh, you guys are?
They're going to rock, paper, scissors.
Oh, rock, paper, scissors. Oh, I thought they're going to go old school.
No, we're going to fight over it.
He's too old. That's Anyway, I apologize. So my written report, the only thing I want to add is just, I put in there, we always try to come up with new clubs, new opportunities for our kids to, to create those relationships and get involved at school. We are starting a crochet club. We put it out there. We actually have 25 students who have expressed interest and want to participate. So crochet is going to be starting next week at MIS. So it's Heather Green, one of our 4th grade teachers. That's exciting. Yeah, it's very exciting.
You're going to work on mittens first, right?
For me, but you'll do a scarf for me, so yeah.
Scarves are good.
Any questions?
Thank you. My turn? Okay. The only thing I have the written report. The only thing I wanted to update you on is our cross-country team at state. We got, I'm going to get this right, I believe we got 11th to state as a team, and Russell Welsh got 13th overall. So really good for him. They did a great job. So congratulations to him. I know why she's clapping. There's a reason I can't say it open session, but Russell is a great student, and he's made a lot of progress over the years. And track and field and cross country are, that's one of the things that he can absolutely excel at. So we're very proud of Russell.
Okay. This is Briscoe with Mokena Area Special Education.
It was is it Donuts for Dads or Donuts with Dad event. So dads came in to have donuts with their children, and yeah, it was well attended and impactful.
We brag about them a little bit.
Thank you. I have just a comment. I like the Donuts with Dad. I would be happy to lead a Martinis with Moms if you'd like. I like alliteration, so, you know.
That would be a big deal.
Well, there is isn't it Martini's apple juice? Is that the name of the brand? You know, in the little bottles.
Oh.
Yeah. See, so yeah. I'm just saying it could be a very age appropriate event if you use the apple juice.
That's because our water bottles may have that water.
They fermented in there.
Okay, FOIA request with one that was completed. Process. Okay, action requests. Ready, Kathy? All right. Approval of the minutes.
I can take that, I guess. I move to approve minutes from the September 20th, 2023 regular session and closed session meetings as presented.
Second by Lisa, any discussion? Okay, please call the vote.
Mrs. Briscoe? Yes. Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan? Yes. Mrs. Oates? Yes. Mrs. Tenney?
Yes.
Mrs. Zelinski? Yes. Mr. Andreessen?
Okay, motion passed. Next up is district bills with Mr. Andreessen.
Michelle was very, very kind to me. I asked her for the major expenses up front, and that one was helped with that. I supplied fine. I move to approve the monthly bills as presented.
You got it? Okay. Please call the vote.
Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan? Mrs. Oates? Yes. Mrs. Tenney?
Yes.
Mrs. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Andreessen?
Yes.
Mrs. Briscoe?
Yes.
Okay, motion passed. Next up is personnel.
I move to approve personnel recommendations 7C, 1 through 5 as presented, subject to successful
Second by Jim, any discussion? It will be missed, Mr. West.
Yes.
I already told them about no one protested.
Both my kids love you, they love you.
All right, I guess we got to call the vote.
Mrs. McMillan? Mrs. Oates? Yes. Mrs. Tenney?
Yes.
Mrs. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Andreessen?
Begrudgingly.
Yeah.
Mrs. Briscoe?
Yeah, begrudgingly, yes.
Mr. Bush?
Yes. Okay. Yes. Yes. Motion passed on personnel. In all serious, congratulations, though. Consent agenda is next. You can do it all together, or you could break it up.
Okay, I move to approve consent agenda items 7D, 1 through 6 as presented.
Second by Lisa, any discussion? Okay, please call the vote.
Mrs. Oates? Yes. Mrs. Tenney?
Yes.
Mrs. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Andreessen?
Yes.
Mrs. Briscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan?
Okay, motion passed. Next up is the resolution to approve the administrative cost waiver. Second by Lisa, any discussion? Let's call the vote.
Mrs. Tenney?
Yes.
Mrs. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Andreessen? Mrs. Briscoe? Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan? Mrs. Oates?
Okay, motion passed. Next up, shared services report.
I move to approve the shared report fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023.
Okay, any discussion? That was Julie, right? Okay, please call the vote.
Mrs.
Sorry.
Tunny?
Yes.
Mr. Andreessen? Mrs. Briscoe? Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan? Mrs. Oates? Mrs. Tunny?
Yes.
Okay, motion passed.
I was gonna say, you asked me twice. I'll just
Yeah.
vote for Lisa, yes.
Board policy revisions.
I recommend the board adopt the press policy recommendations with the modifications recommended by the administration as presented.
Second by Lisa. Any discussion? Okay, let's call the vote.
Mr. Andreessen? Mrs. Briscoe? Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan? Mrs. Oates? Yes. Mrs. Tunny?
Yes.
Mrs. Owen? Yes.
Okay, motion passed. All right, items for the November agenda.
Early planning for this request. Early. You might have to pick a venue. Gotta have some fun in life, guys. It's too short.
I know Dr. Shaw always has stuff.
We'll have
She'll have some.
we'll have the tentative levy presentation next month, and then there'll be an RFP, 2 RFPs that you'll see for the playground expansion.
Okay, and then in front of everyone, board member tonight, you should have saw this 2023 Resolutions Committee report. So for the newer board members might not be aware what happened. So at the annual conference that happens in November, the conference is the weekend after the November board meeting. So we usually elect a delegate in each district. There are some items, some agenda items you can read through here, resolutions that every district in the state votes on. Jim has volunteered to be our representative, but in the past, we have gone through this documentation, and if there are any items that you would like to discuss or make sure, sometimes there's some controversial ones that are out there. Most of the time, they're pretty straightforward, but if there's anything that we want to discuss, I just want to make sure that we discuss that in open session so that Jim can vote.
Yeah, it'll
for
be a
the-
free discussion next month. Feel free to look through it. I know Mike Everett's been this up, because that physical clicker, people have to want to walk around county panels that we're holding up anymore. So that's nice. You want to make sure these things are accurate, but in all fairness, these do not include only state laws directly, and sometimes that can be confusion. All this is designed to do is to tell the organization what we would like them to focus on. So if a whole lot of people really think the hot button item is going to be legal if we all go in there and vote, it's not. It's really just to tell our lobbyists what's important. And feel free to share with me, next month as a voice and what all things.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay, next up for the good of Mokena.
I got something. The month of October is National Principals Month. So I'd like to recognize Mike and Dave, and unfortunately Rachel's a little under the weather, couldn't be with us tonight. Now, they spent Monday and Tuesday in Peoria at the Illinois Principal Association Conference. So Allison, Dr. Johnson, and I got to play principal again for a couple of days. And I was running back and forth between buildings, taking care of some student issues. Brought back a lot of memories of my days in the dean's office way back when. But, what these guys do on a daily basis, the interactions they have with kids and families, it's so appreciated. They have an impact not only on the academic intensity of their buildings and what students are learning, but also creating that learning environment in the places that kids will always remember. So thank you very much for all you do.
Thank you. I have something, Eric. That's all right.
Good Mokena, yeah.
Yeah, a couple things. One, echo the fall swing is coming up, and MEF and PTA are working really hard to put together a terrific event, and I want to make sure that the teachers are aware that the prices have been reduced. So we hope to get a lot of support from the community and teachers and administration. It's if you haven't been to the 19th hole, it is so fun. So we hope to see you there. And second thing is, I didn't mention it during the portion of the personnel report because Tanya Spilchin isn't here, but she was a much beloved bus driver, and I just wanted to show her some appreciation and love for all of her years of service, and make sure that she knows that we appreciated that, and that she will be missed by parents and students as well.
Mokena?
I just want to piggyback on the fall swing because we won't have another meeting before that. Is if you can't make it, you could still bid on auction items remotely. So keep an eye out for the link to the silent auction and share it to anybody who likes to participate in auctions. It's kind of fun. So that's it.
Anything else for the good of Mokena? If not, I move that the Board of Education adjourn to closed session for purposes of the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, and dismissal of specific employees of the public body. Okay, any discussion? Please call the vote.
Yes. Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan? Mrs. Ost? Yes. Mrs. Tunney? Mrs. Zelinski? Yes. Mrs. Durandres?
Okay. Yes, 10-minute break. Thank you. Sounds great, teachers.
Thanks for coming out tonight.